Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of New Westminster Sunday celebration service. Please join us for our opening song today, My Favorite Things.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
Welcome back. I am Reverend Rona Segura, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our Sunday celebration service at Unity of New Westminster in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Whether you are watching us live on Zoom or on Facebook or on YouTube, or whether you are finding us on demand after the service, it is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of all of us here. We would love to stay connected with you. So please subscribe to our newsletter on our website, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, or join our Facebook group. And that way you will be notified anytime we have a service. We are so glad that you are part of our experience today. The Unity Movement offers ideas for full and abundant living. We draw on the teachings of Jesus, who we consider our primary way shower and example. And we honor that there is wisdom in faith traditions all over the world. We respect every person's right to choose their own spiritual path, their own life path. All are welcome here. All are worthy here. All are celebrated here. We open our service today in prayer. I gratefully acknowledge that I speak to you on the traditional and unceded territory of the Semiahmoo First Nation. And we give thanks to First Nation peoples everywhere for their custody of this beautiful land. We give thanks for our connection one with each other. That connection that happens whether we are in each other's physical presence or not. the connection that binds us all together. We acknowledge that there is only one presence, that there is only one power, that power that is understood by many names, many faces, and many paths. And we affirm that regardless of the name, the face, or the path of our understanding, that we are one human family. And it is in that knowledge of our oneness that we send a blessing for love, for peace, for contentment to every being on this planet, to every being, regardless of all the labels that threaten to divide us. We are one. And for this knowledge, for this intention, and for the power that we have to bless, we give thanks. Amen. Have you ever had someone in your life who has presented a challenge for you? Maybe somebody from your past, maybe somebody in your present, somebody who is a family member or a coworker, maybe a friend, a spouse, an acquaintance, someone you're dating perhaps, or someone you'd like to date. Have you ever had a challenge with somebody? I'm guessing your answer is yes. Sometimes we get upset at other people's habits. Sometimes we get upset at their preferences, the way that they do things, perhaps their attention to detail or their inattention to detail, or the habits that they might have with respect to punctuality, or their tendency towards doing things too quickly, or maybe not doing things quickly enough. And all we want to do is fix them. All we want to do is make it so that those things that irritate us go away. If only we could get them to see the error of their ways, our lives would be so much better, and so would theirs. Well, we spend a lot of energy then on our challenging person. We have conversations with ourselves, sometimes sleepless nights, because we're so involved in trying to figure out how to fix them. Sometimes we have conversations with others about that person. Maybe, if they're lucky, we even have conversations with that person. In any event, we can become so invested in that other person and the problem that they are, that we become angry and frustrated and annoyed and focused and preoccupied on their behavior. We become focused, hyper-vigilant sometimes, looking for their negative qualities. Well, if any of that might have happened to you, and I'm guessing that at least sometime in your past, if not in your present, it has, then you may be comforted to know that you are not alone. And we see this played out in the musical, The Sound of Music. Our heroine, Maria, is the problem. And the people who are preoccupied with her behavior are nuns. The song, How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria, illustrates some of these ideas. It illustrates the randomness of our judgments. It shows how what matters to one person may be something that doesn't matter at all to another person. And it offers insights into a wiser approach that we could take when we are faced with that very human tendency to judge other people. When we find ourselves in that place where we are looking for ways to solve the problem that is another person. And so as we look at this song today, How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria? I consider the ways in which we behave just as the nuns behaved. What they represent are our own thoughts. They are just as human as we are. What we see to begin with is a group of nuns in a convent huddled together and talking about Maria. Maria is a novice who is preparing to be a nun, but she has not yet taken her vows to commit to being a nun. And they are complaining, these nuns, and you kind of get the impression that this isn't the first time that they're complaining about her. They're complaining because her behavior does not align with the rules of the abbey. The things that have been done the way they've always been done are out of what Maria does. And so they sing, How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria? This song is rich in wisdom. It is formed into several segments, each segment demonstrating ways in which we typically respond when we're upset. And then, as I said, it shows us a way to a more compassionate and peaceful way of approaching our judgmental thoughts. So let's look at these segments closely. First, we see gossip and complaint. These nuns are gathered together in a group, and they make a long list of reasons that Maria needs to be fixed. Places where she is deficient. She climbs a tree, she scrapes her knee, her dress has got a tear. She waltzes on the way to mass, she whistles on the stair underneath her wimple, which is the habit, the headpiece. She has curlers in her hair. She's even sung in the abbey. There is juiciness in complaining and judging, isn't there? That we get a charge out of gathering together like that, to gossip about somebody who isn't there. And when we gossip, why do we do that? Because we get a false sense of camaraderie with the people who we are with, that sense of being part of a group. It also gives us a feeling of power, that we who are part of this group somehow know better and can do better than the other person. And the one negative idea feeds on another negative idea, which feeds on another negative idea, until all that is seen by the people in the group is all of the negative ideas, all of the negative characterizations about this person. And it takes real courage to break from the pack and say something that differs from what the group is saying. There were eight negative messages said by this group of nuns before one of them says, I'd like to say a word in her behalf. Maria makes me laugh. 8-1. 8 negatives before someone broke ranks with the group and said something nice about someone who wasn't there to defend herself. The message for us is to be aware of how easy it is and how normal it is to focus on the negative. And when we find ourselves in a group which is doing that, perhaps talking about someone who is not there, perhaps talking about an issue that appears to be negative, perhaps we could try to be the voice that speaks the positive. And if the group is focused on a person and speaking about a person, perhaps we could suggest that it would be wiser to speak to the person rather than about them. So they're gossiping and they're complaining. Next, we see that they gossip and complain and cannot do anything to fix her. There's a sense of frustration because they don't know how to pin her down. This is what they say. Many a thing you know you'd like to tell her, many a thing she ought to understand. But how do you make her stay and listen to what you say, all you say? How do you solve a problem like Maria? They don't know how to get her attention. Well, yeah, nobody is looking to be fixed. They are perfectly aware, most people are perfectly aware that they have some stuff to work on. And unless they are asking for help, most people are not really welcoming it when other people try to fix them. Think of a time when you have been the recipient of someone's unwanted, unwelcome, unsolicited fixing advice. Jill and I, my sister Jill and I, have this joke where when somebody says, have a nice day, we understand their intention and smile graciously. And then to ourselves, we say, and don't tell me what to do. Have a nice day. Of course, we know that's meant in a nice way. But nobody likes to be told what to do. We want to know that we have the freedom to have the autonomy to figure things out for ourselves. And yet it's so much easier to see other people's faults, other people's opportunities, isn't it? And when we are tempted, and we are all the time tempted to try and fix the people we care about, or even those we don't, when we are tempted to judge, it would be good to remember Jesus's teaching from the Sermon on the Mount, where in Matthew chapter 7, verse 3, he says, why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, let me take the speck out of your eye, while the log is in your own eye? We are focused on the specks out there because it's easier than dealing with the logs in our own eyes. There are other terms for this idea. Martha Creek shared that one of her mother's favorite sayings was, sweep under your own mat. Sweep under your own mat. Or I think of it as, it's easier to see another person's nose, but difficult to see your own. Or stay in your own lane. all of these ideas, sweep under your own mat, look for your own nose, stay in your own lane, all of them are reminders that the people we want to focus on is ourselves, and that trying to fix someone else is indeed an exercise in futility. As the song says, it is like trying to catch a cloud and pin it down, or trying to hold a moonbeam in your hand. And so rather than become confused or frustrated or upset, perhaps they would be more calm if the nuns stopped trying to do the impossible, that of trying to solve a problem that is not theirs to solve. So they become frustrated. There is the sense of discomfort around her. And it leads to the next segment in the song, that of them becoming confused, out of focus, bemused. They move into a place where they recognize that they are uncomfortable around her. One says, "I never know exactly where I am." Their focus on Maria's inability to change, her inability to change, leads to their suffering. Her inability to change leads to their suffering. Again, I'm reminded of perhaps my favorite part of the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus tells us to come to terms with our own accuser. Otherwise, we will be taken to the judge. The judge will turn us over to the guard, and we will become imprisoned. That's what's happening here. Their accusation has led them to become imprisoned, to become stuck. Maria is living her life, trying to find her way herself. They are confused and out of focus and disoriented. Have you ever had that experience where you are confused because someone else won't do something that you would like them to do, or that you feel that they should? It can throw us all off kilter. What if we could accept that Maria is following Maria's path? What if we could observe rather than absorb whatever behavior we are seeing that we don't like? What if we could recognize that differences need not mean deficiencies? The nuns are discomforted, out of focus, off kilter. And what do they do with that discomfort? They move to the next segment of the song, which is naming and blaming and shaming. They start characterizing Maria in a remarkably blunt list, a list which covers an entire spectrum of human desirable and undesirable traits. She's unpredictable as weather. She's as flighty as a feather. She's a darling. She's a demon. She's a lamb. She'd outpester any pest, drive a hornet from its nest, throw a whirling dervish out of whirl. She's gentle. She is wild. She's a riddle. She's a child. She's a headache. She's an angel. Wow. My head is spinning just saying all of that. And I was trying to do it all in one breath. Because how can we have so many different, disparate characterizations of the same person? How can that possibly make sense? By now, I hope we are starting to recognize that the naming has nothing to do with Maria. It has more to do with those doing the labeling. The labels, both positive and negative, are about the people who are doing the labeling and what those people choose to see. And here's what I heard the other day, an idea that I heard just yesterday. Raging is confession. Raging is confession. So when somebody says, this isn't fun, chances are that in our hearts, we might think, they aren't fun. And what I think about as I think about it more is that I wonder if that statement is true for all the ways that we name and that we label. So a person who sees someone as an angel is much more likely to be referred to as an angel themselves, or someone who sees someone as kind is very likely to be kind themselves. And someone who says someone else is a headache may very well be a headache at times themselves. And that brings us to our final observation, the superpower moment in the song. When the Mother Abbess comes along, and after all of these different characterizations about who Maria is, she stops and she says, she's a girl. She's a girl. She's a girl doing what a girl does. She's a person doing what a person does. Unity's second principle reminds us that we are all expressions of God, all valuable, no one in need of fixing, just as we are. And at times, we are like those nuns. We find fault with others. We find fault with ourselves. We find ourselves frustrated, preoccupied, ready to judge, ready to label. That is human. At times, we are like Maria. And all of those characterizations, we've all at times been a darling. We've all at times been a demon, an angel, a whirling dervish, a headache, a pest, all of it. It is part of our humanness. The more that we can accept that we are a girl, a boy, a human, a person, doing the best that we can with what we know at the time, the more we can realize the most important message of this song, which is that Maria is not a problem to be solved. Maria is a person. The nuns are not a problem to be solved either. They are people doing what people do. That annoying person in your life, he, she, they are not a problem to be solved. They are people. And you are not a problem to be solved. You are a person. Fixing others is as futile as trying to catch a wave upon the sand or trying to hold a moonbeam in your hand. How do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you solve a problem like insert name here? Give them space. Stay in your own lane. Sweep under your own mat. Trust. Recognize that we are all doing the best that we can. And remember that they are a person, just as we are a person. How do you solve a problem like Maria? There is no problem. There is only person. There is only life. There is only each of us on our journey. How do you hold a moonbeam in your hand? You love them. I bless you.
She climbs a tree and scrapes her knee. Her dress has got a tear. She waltzes on her way to mass and whistles on the stair. And underneath her wimple, she has curlers in her hair. I've even heard her singing in the abbey. She's always late for chapel, but her penitence is real. She's always late for everything, except for every meal. I hate to have to say it, but I very firmly feel Maria's not an asset to the abbey. I'd like to say a word in her behalf. Maria makes me laugh. How do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you catch a cloud and pin it down? How do you find a word that means Maria? A flibbity-gibbet, a will-o'-the-wisp, a clown. Many a thing you know you'd like to tell her. Many a thing she ought to understand. But how do you make her stay and listen to all you say? How do you keep a wave upon the sand? Oh, how do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you hold a moonbeam in your hand? When I'm with her, I'm confused, out of focus and bemused, and I never know exactly where I am. Unpredictable as weather.
She's as flighty as a feather.
She's a darling. She's a demon. She's a lamb. She'll outpester any pest, drive a hornet from its nest. She can throw a whirling dervish out of world. She is gentle, she is wild.
She's a riddle, she's a child.
She's a headache. She's an angel. She's a girl.
How do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you catch a cloud and pin it down? How do you find a word that means Maria?
A flibbity-gibbet, a will-o'-the-wisp, a clown.
Many a thing you know you'd like to tell her. Many a thing she ought to understand.
But how do you make her stay and listen to all you say? How do you keep a wave upon the sand?
Oh, how do you solve a problem like Maria?
Our prayer service will be 11 o'clock again on July the 29th. And then starting on August the 2nd, we will shift our prayer day to Mondays at 11. July 29th, 11 a.m., August the 2nd at 11 o'clock. You are invited to join us on the last Friday of the month for our Friday night house party and talent night. It is on Zoom. It is hosted by Jerry, and it is at 7 o'clock. It is a time for those who have talents that they want to share to bring those to the light with singing and reading or playing an instrument or telling jokes and making us all laugh. It is also a chance where several of us may not have anything that we want to share, but we want to be part of the experience. And so it becomes a place where we just chat and have some really fun times learning more about each other. Friday night, last Friday of the month, on Zoom at 7 o'clock. Join us. When we are able to meet in person, we hold a birthday celebration on the last Sunday of the month. Of course, we aren't meeting in person at the moment, but that's no reason not to celebrate. So please join us after service today as we celebrate the people in our community who were born this month. Birthday Sunday today. There are many, many ways to give to our organization, either through credit card, online, or direct interact transfers or checks or cash. We are so grateful for the generosity of the contributions that we receive, which support not just our ministry, but also organizations in our own community that do amazing work, and Unity Canada that spreads the message of unity across the country. Thank you for your contributions. I invite you now to hold whatever you feel blessed for in your hands, in your heart. Financial, family, roof over your head, food on the table, just whatever you are feeling blessed with as we sing our blessing song.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And we come to the end of another service. I thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed your experience with us today. I wish you all a very, very blessed week. Goodbye, everybody.
God. I am the love of God. I am the power of God. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. I am the light of God. I am the love of God. I am the power of God. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. You are the light of God. You are the love of God. You are the power of God. You are the presence of God. Wherever you are, God is. You are the light of God. You are the love of God. You are the power of God. You are the presence of God. Wherever you are, God is. We are the light of God. We are the love of God. We are the power of God. We are the presence of God.